Okay, here we are with that little mystery small block yet. What I have found out about it is that it does have a 4-bolt main. I had it cranked up and pulled the pan off of it and took a quick look. It does have a 4-bolt main, and I wanted to get in here and look to see what the cast numbers were on the cylinder head, so I pulled that valve cover off. And as you can see, this thing is about as gummed up as it could be. This engine just ran and ran and ran. They never changed the oil. They probably just kept adding oil to it. There's the numbers, and you can't even make them out. There's so much goop and crap on it. I'll get some brake clean and spray it on there and brush on that a little bit to try to find out the numbers. But here's what's interesting about this engine. That the exhaust manifold, which is right here, that thing is old and crusty, and I expected them bolts to be real hard getting out of there, and I couldn't believe that they were barely tight at all. I also noticed the type of gaskets that they had on there. They were the single gaskets, and I see guys use those when they're trying to replace a gasket, an exhaust gasket, without having to take the exhaust manifold off. They take them out just a couple bolts at a time, slide a gasket down in there, put the bolts back in, and do that all the way across. And in fact, the end ones, they even make the gasket slotted so that you don't even have to pull the bolts out. But here's one other thing that I noticed about this engine. Now, I know a little bit about the guy that had this engine and who may have worked on it once upon a time. But here's what I noticed. First of all, I mean, other than that it's just gooped up beyond all recognition, every one of the rockers is loose. There's not a single cylinder, either on the intake or the exhaust, that is moved. And it still has the push rods in place. You can't see it too well, but all the push rods are still in place. But none of the rockers are moved. There should be at least one, if not two cylinders, two rockers, at least two that are open at some point. But they're not. They're all closed. So the question here is, did the old man come in here and loosen up all these rockers so that the valves would stay shut? Or is it that the camshaft is just that wiped out? Or the lifters are just smashed? We'll find out. But I just want to shoot this video, this short video, just to point that out. That one thing that I noticed is that none of the valves are open. So, well, let's get into it and see what we find. Okay, here we go. We got some brake clean here. I'm going to shoot it on them numbers. I'll get it soaked on there. That one is easy to read. And I got an old paintbrush. Let's see if that works. Oh yeah, look at how cruddy that is. My brake clean can has run out of pressure. I can't quite make out those numbers. Let's see if we can zoom in on that a little bit. See if we can make that out. Looks like 3988993. Is that what it looks like to you guys? 3988993. Huh. Still can't, other than the GM, I can't make out what that is. Then there's that little clock thing here. Now, of course, those numbers are going to look upside down. Because that's the way it's casted. So, but yeah, I'll look these cast numbers up and see what it might be. Once again, I don't know what this engine is, but from all things that I can find, taking into consideration that cast number and the date, the casting date on it, this is like according to the casting date, and it's supposed to have been like casted in 1974. Would have probably went into a 75 car. It's definitely a small block Chevy. It's definitely 4-bolt main. And from what I've looked up, it could only be the 302 or a 350. I doubt that it's a 302. But it could be a 400. And that's what I was thinking. That's why I started into this, because the first thing I'd like to do is pull the cylinder head off and measure the bore. And also the stroke. If we can get it clocked around to find something close to bottom dead center. And so that's what my plan is. Let's see how that goes.